Hey everyone, thanks for joining us for Wow Me Wednesday. I have an awesome guest with me today, Steve Collins, who is not just a great public speaker and super entertaining, but he has delivered over 1,000 trainings, right?
Sure.
To kids, teenagers, adults alike, and has some really, really valuable tips for you and for me on how to deliver an effective as well as not boring training. How many of you have sat through trainings before? Probably most of you, right? And how many of you said, I am so excited to go to a training today? I'm guessing zero.
Yeah, no one does.
So Steve's going to help us with that, and hopefully you get to sit in one of his trainings one day, so you get entertained and more knowledgeable. Thanks for being here, Steve.
Thank you so much for inviting me. So training, no one really wakes up in the morning and says, yes, I'm so excited. And let's talk a little bit about some of the reasons why. So what I did is I came up with 4 special keys to training effectively.
Perfect.
And they're going to seem like no one's going to be like, wow, I never thought of that before. But it's so important when you're doing a training to keep these in mind. The first is going to be the most duh moment of them all, but it's absolutely vital. And so the number one is to actually know the material that you're training on very, very well. You can't teach others if you don't know it. Mm-hmm. You can't have a vague familiarity with it. You have to know the material. You review it, whether you make note cards, whether you just memorize it, whether you have a sheet of paper that has everything. Everyone has their own style of learning and remembering things. And it's okay to practice it. It's okay to have bullet points. It's okay to have note cards. But whatever it is you do, just do it. But you have to know the material. That is the absolute first key. And you can't go any further in this without knowing the material that you're training on.
What if you're training on something that's pretty new to you?
Yeah. So what I would do is I would take some time alone to decide, and I would learn the material. I would practice it. I would then write a comprehensive beginning to end, and that flows into our second key point. And this, I got to tell you, so the first one's know the material. Yeah, that's
no
a shocker, right?
Yeah.
Number 2 is the cardinal sin of training. So when I sit in a training, I specifically watch for this because it is the most common error that a trainer will make. And that is people do not start at the beginning. They start in the middle. So I'm going to give you an example. We've all seen Star Wars. I mean, if we haven't, I can't help you. I mean, come on, watch Star Wars.
He's a big fan.
Right? And so if I said to someone, okay, explain to me what Star Wars is all about, they will almost immediately jump into, okay, there's Jedi, and there's Sith, and there are these laser swords, and, you're like, well, I'm lost already. But as George Lucas began the story, he started it with this a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. You have to set the table. When you get ready for a meal, we focus on the ingredients and the cooking and the instructions, but you also have to set the table. You need your plate, you need your beverage, you need your utensils. The number one cardinal sin of training is people jumping right into the middle. And here's why it happens so frequently. Because if you did number 1 well, you know the material, you've got it down. You then begin to take for granted the foundational knowledge that got you to the end point, which makes you the expert. And so people tend to start somewhere in the middle and think that that's the beginning. But it's not the beginning. Usually you have to go back a little bit further to set that foundation of the material so that everyone arrives at the same spot. It's the number 1 cardinal sin and the number 1 thing that gets the trainees confused because they're not starting at the beginning.
Yeah, you have to start on the same page with some context.
Yeah.
It's like we're taking a journey together, right? Mm-hmm. And so if we're starting out at different starting points, we're not going to be traveling together as a group.
You're not going to arrive at the destination. Your meal's not going to come out at the same time. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Good point.
So here's the third one. We talked about you going to a training earlier and no one's super excited. But that's not right. And here's why it's not right. If you went to a kindergarten classroom right now and they're learning the alphabet, they're so excited. They're happy. They're singing the song. Everyone knows the song. They're learning their numbers, their colors, their letters, and they're happy. If you watch an infant, a toddler, as they're beginning to take their first few steps, they're delighted to do so. They're, I'm walking, I'm doing it. Because learning is supposed to be fun. And it is fun. It is fun still. as long as the learning is applicable to their life. And that's the third key of a training. The knowledge that you are imparting to the people in the training, it has to be useful. It has to be applicable. If I told you that without some crazy scam on the side, I could show you one mathematical trick to cut your budget in half and give you more revenue, which I don't actually have this. I wish I did.
Me too.
Everyone watching the video would be like, okay, let's have it. I don't have that knowledge, but if I did, we would want that. We would be eager. It would make us happy because it's so useful. It's so applicable. So the information you're giving, at the end of it, there has to be a so what? Why do I care about whatever topic I'm learning? If I'm learning my letters, I'm learning the sounds they make, I'm eventually going to be able to read. And to an infant, to a toddler, that's exciting. Along the way, we've been, told, learn this, learn that, learn this, to where the learning no longer was fun, it was a requirement.
Yeah.
But we're looking for, if the knowledge is useful, okay, I'm going to take what I'm learning here, and this is going to make a difference in my life.
Yeah.
People love it.
Make me a better employee.
Absolutely.
Make me a better, whatever it is, husband, wife, parent. And so you've done these trainings. So much of it has to do with the audience, is what you're saying. What's in it for them? And I preach that all the time. You always have to think about, no matter the presentation, training, video, what's in it for the audience. And you've, as a youth pastor, delivered presentations, trainings to teenagers, preteens, but you've also, in your workplace, also delivered it to adults and trainings that are more required versus voluntary.
Absolutely.
So how have you adjusted your trainings and how you address them based on the audience and what's in it for them? How do you keep that top of mind?
So you're looking to know your audience. Usually you have been where they are. So you want to remember the common pitfalls, the struggles, the places you got hung up in the process. Call it out. It's okay to mention it. Okay, now this is the number one space where people have a trip up right here. So if they're feeling that, sitting in the training, it's okay to say, we're all having that moment. Let's acknowledge it. What can we do to move past it? Here's what has worked for other people. We do breaks in the trainings. I do breaks, and sometimes I do little YouTube videos that have nothing to do with the material. It's just to take a break. The amount of information, especially if it's dense, that any given person can absorb and retain in a useful manner is not large. And so for that same purpose, when you're tailoring your training to the class, the group, one of the things you want to do is be concise. So let me give you an example. Let's say we're trying to do this mathematical problem. The training's on math. I don't know why it's math, but it's math today.
Okay.
And I have 3 different ways to solve this equation. In a training, I'm not going to teach 3 different ways. I'm going to teach one way. I'm going to teach the most simple way or the most correct way, but I'm not going to teach 3 ways because the amount of, if it's brand new to them, the amount of information that they can retain is not large. And that's true for everybody. It doesn't matter what the group is. But to have an applicable, concise, useful information, it's absolutely vital. And so you want to tailor it to them, but you also want to keep it concise.
Right. We can only retain so much.
So much,
I'm preparing a training right now for some sales agents, and I'm realizing I have so much information, so much content, but it's not going to be useful for them if I include everything. So I do need to pare it down and keep it concise to the point, to the really key tidbits.
Absolutely.
They need to take away.
I saw it like this in a movie once. You're thirsty. You want a drink of water. You go to the water fountain, you turn it on, you get a nice little sip of water. But then, instead, one day you go to the fire hose. And you take a drink of water from the fire hose. It's the same thing. It's water, it's going to quench your thirst, but it's too much water. It's too much force, and it usually just, sends people flying. So you don't want them to drink from the fire hose as much as possible.
Right. Yeah. Really important to remember.
Yeah. So those are the first 3 of the 4 keys, right? You have to know the material, right? You have to start at the beginning. That's the key one.
Yep.
You have to make it applicable, concise, and the very last one is, if at all possible, you have to sprinkle in a little humor. You have to make it a little interactive. Know your audience. If they come into your training and you've never met them before, this is harder. But you get to know them during the breaks. Be a little interactive. It's okay to tell a joke, even if the topic is a little heavy. That sometimes can help. it makes it more real. Like you're not just, okay,
a
class.
robot.
Oh, that. You don't want that.
Or a video that they're watching, because you're actually a person there to engage with them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Otherwise they could watch a boring old video.
They could. And I tell you what, if you have a training on a video like that, people will check out. Absolutely, they'll check out. I saw a video presentation. I saw the same video dozens of times. And I would have sworn that this person was a real life robot. No motion, no nothing. I got to see this person live. They were funny. They were engaging. It blew me away. I was like, oh my gosh, you're an amazing trainer in person.
In person, yeah.
In person, you've got it down. Engage the room. I think it was a 2-day training, so 16 hours. And there were breaks, there were team activities. So we're talking about breaking it up a little bit. You can also do team group activities. It breaks up the pure lecture because no one can truly still retain all that. And it makes the day more palatable to everyone.
Right.
So, yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Great tips.
Thank you.
I think to break it up too, I also include videos sometimes.
Absolutely.
Role play if you can, to let it sink in, let those lessons sink in. So thank you, Steve. Steve is super entertaining. Great analogies and examples too.
Thank you.
That's really important for me. So if you have a training coming up, I hope that you're delivering. I hope that these tips were helpful for you to be engaging, interactive, entertaining, as well as effective. So for more tips about public speaking, on-camera speaking, training speaking, just tune in every week for my Wow Me Wednesday videos. Thanks everyone. I'll see you next week.